यो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज धन रंजन यामुनतीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमत् श्रीलयसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमत् श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 14, Chapter title King Pururava enchanted by Urvasi. Text 4. Text 4 and text 5, they don't have purports. So I'll read text 4 and 5. So ayajat rajasuyena vijithya bhuvanatrayam patnim brihaspate darpat tharam nama harad balat. Translation. After conquering the three worlds, the upper, middle and lower planetary systems, Soma, the moon god, performed a great sacrifice known as the Rajasuya Yajna. Because he was very much puffed up, he forcibly kidnapped Brihaspati's wife, whose name was Tara. Text 5. Yada sadeva guruna yachito vikshnasho madat natyajat tatkrite janye suradhanava vigraha. Although requested again and again by Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods, Soma did not return Tara. This was due to his false pride. Consequently, a fight ensued between the demigods and the demons. Text 6. Please repeat. Shukraha Brihaspatehe Dveshat Agrahit Sa Asura Udupam Haraha Gurusutam Snehat Sarvabhuta Ghana Avritaha Shukro Brihaspate Dveshad Agrahit Sasurodupam Haro Gurusutam Snehat Sarvabhuta Ghanavritaha शुक्रो बृहस्पतेर्द्वेषाद् अग्रहीत् सासुरोडुपम् हरो गुरुसुतं स्नेहात् सर्वभूतघनावृतः शुक्रो बृहस्पतेर्द्वेषाद् अग्रहीत् सासुरोडुपम् हरो गुरुसुतं स्नेहात् सर्वभूतघनावृतः शुक्रो बृहस्पते स्नेहात् शुक्रो बृहस्पते अग्रहीत् सासुरोडुपम् हरो गुरुसुतं स्नेहात् सर्वभूतगणावृतः शुक्रो बृहस्पते द्वेषात् अग्रहीत् सासुरोडुपम् हरो गुरुसुतं स्नेहात् सर्वभूतगणावृतः शुक्रो बृहस्पतेर्द्वेषात् अग्रहीत् सासुरोडुपम् माताजी शुक्रो बृहस्पते द्वेषात् अग्रहीत् सासुरोडुपम् हरो गुरुसुतं स्नेहात् सर्वभूतगणावृतः Shukraha, the demigod named Shukra, Brihaspatehe, unto Brihaspati, Dveshat, because of enmity, Agrahit, took, Sa Asura, with the demons, Udupam, the side of the moon god, Haraha, Lord Shiva, Guru Sutam, the side of his spiritual master's son, Snehat, because of affection, Sarvabhuta Ghanavritaha, accompanied by all kinds of ghosts and hobgoblins. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder of ISKCON. Translation: because of enmity between Brihaspati and Shukra, Shukra took the side of the moon god and was joined by the demons. But Lord Shiva, because of affection for the son of his spiritual master, joined the side of Brihaspati and was accompanied by all the ghosts and hobgoblins. Purport: the moon god is one of the demigods, but to fight against the other demigods, he took the assistance of the demons. Shukra, being an enemy of Brihaspati, also joined the moon god to retaliate in wrath against Brihaspati. To counteract this situation, Lord Shiva, who was affectionate toward Brihaspati, joined Brihaspati. The father of Brihaspati was Angira, from whom Lord Shiva had received knowledge. Therefore, Lord Shiva had some affection for Brihaspati and joined his side in this fight. Sridhara Swami remarks, Angirasas sakashat prapta vidyo hara iti prasiddhaha. Lord Shiva is well known to have received knowledge from Angira. ओम ज्ञानामतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितमेन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सघ्नरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदान् सगनललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। शुक्रो बृहस्पतिर्द्वेषात् अग्रहीत सासुरोडुपम हरो गुरुसुतं स्नेहात् सर्वभूतगणावृतः। Because of enmity between Brihaspati and Shukra took the side of the moon god and was joined by the demons. But Lord Shiva, because of affection for the son of his spiritual master, joined the side of Brihaspati and was accompanied by all the ghosts and the hobgoblins. Hare Krishna. So here we are seeing the dynasty of the moon in this particular chapter, the dynasty of moon, and then the stories related with that dynasty is being discussed here. Throughout Srimad Bhagavatam, you'll see that so many kings are mentioned, great personalities are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. The kings, dynasties, all are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam because it's all having connection with Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam is a transcendental literature. There is nothing mundane in it. So everything is based on connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. We know Srimad Bhagavatam, it's a Mahapurana, so it has the 10 main subjects. The Dasha Lakshanas are discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam. That we can see in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, what are the 10 Lakshanas of a great literature. Sarga, Visarga, then the Manvantara. Sarga refers to the creation, then Visarga refers to the sub-creation. The creation that happens after the creation of the universal elements. And then the various Manus who rule this universe, and also the Vamsha Charitra. There are also the Lakshanas of a Purana. The Purana should deal with the various kings and also the stories associated with such kings. And ultimately there should be discussion of Mukti, then the Ashraya, liberation, and also the Samambonam, the supreme shelter, which is who is Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So everything is discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's all in connection with the Supreme Lord Krishna. In fact, this is how Srimad Bhagavatam begins, that this literature is kicking out all things which are not in connection with Krishna. When the great Rishi Sutta Goswami was speaking Srimad Bhagavatam to the Rishis of Naimisharanya, that time he was specifying that I am going to speak about the great king Parikshit Maharaj, how he chastised the Shudra king. Immediately the Shaunaka Rishis questioned Sutta Goswami that if at all this story of Shudra king being punished by Parikshit is having any connection with Krishna, you please explain everything to us, otherwise they are not ready to hear. So right from the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, the rishis who are involved in hearing directly Srimad Bhagavatam from Sutta Goswami, they bluntly told him that we don't want to hear anything other than the Supreme Lord Krishna. So we can see that all the things that are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam has all connection with Krishna. We see that Srila Vishnu Chakra Thakur is saying that each and every word in Srimad Bhagavatam, all the 18,000 slokas with thousands and thousands of words that are made, that are composing this 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam is glorifying Shri Shri Radha Krishna. So the direction of each and every word of Srimad Bhagavatam is the glorification of Shri Shri Radha Krishna. So this is having some connection with Krishna. The kings that we are discussing now, they're all having connection with Krishna. Particularly, this Moon dynasty, it is having an even more close connection with Krishna. Previously, in the previous chapters, we saw, or in fact, in the many cantos, we were seeing the discussion of the kings of the Solar dynasty. Few chapters, Sun. Solar dynasty refers to the Sun dynasty, mean the dynasty that comes from the Sun god. We saw the chapter of Lord Ramachandra. Lord Ramachandra, he comes in the Sun dynasty. And also the kings of Ikshvaku, they're all coming in the Sun dynasty. Krishna says in Gita, Imam Vyasate Yogam, Proktavan Ahamavayam, Vivaswan Manave Prahur, Manur Ikshvaku Abravit. So Krishna himself is saying that Ikshvaku is coming in the parampara of Sun. So that dynasty of Ikshvaku is discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam. In fact, the whole dynasty is discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam. We see in Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami is listing all the kings who were the rulers of the Sun dynasty. I think 2 chapters before we finish the full list of the Ikshvaku dynasty. After completing the list till the presence of the kings during his time, Sukadeva Goswami narrated to Parikshit Maharaj the kings who will be coming in the future in the Ikshvaku Parampara. So he listed the kings who will be in the Sun dynasty in the Kali Yuga also, and then he lists that he particularly mentions about the last king also, and he says that after this the Sun dynasty will be finished. So all the kings in the Sun dynasty is discussed, and now the Moon dynasty is coming. And we know we are coming in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and also we are half past the 9th canto. So it is very clear, the stage is set for the Supreme Person of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, to appear. And Lord Shri Krishna, he comes in the Moon dynasty. So naturally the discussion of the Moon dynasty has to happen. And it is also, it's very near. I think some 8, 9 or maybe 24. I think some 10 chapters are left for the Supreme Lord Krishna to appear. So we see now Sukadeva Goswami is discussing about the different kings of the Moon dynasty. And obviously the first ruler of the Moon dynasty is Soma, Moon god. So his story is also mentioned here in Srimad Bhagavatam. So a small history of the Moon god is discussed here. It's a very short history, because this chapter is not exactly about the Moon god, but about the Pururava who comes in this Moon dynasty. Here we see about Soma, how he was having enmity with Brihaspati. Sometimes we see that certain things are very bewildering, because the sun god, the moon god, or the great demigod, they are not ordinary personalities. But then we wonder how come such acts are performed by them. And yesterday we discussed everything, and Gopal Prabhu, he explained everything so nicely, how even such great personalities, even apparently we may see some fault in them, they are not supposed to be taken very lightly or cheaply. So here we see that Moon God is going for a fight with the demigods, but he himself is a demigod. Srila Prabhupada, he writes that, particularly Srila Prabhupada, he says that the Moon God is one of the demigods. But in order to fight with the demons, means with the demigods, because he is now having enmity with the demigods. They are all from the same team. Brihaspati is the spiritual master of the demigods. So Brihaspati is part of the team of the demigods. But he himself is having a problem with his own team. So he is just leaving his team, and then he is seeing that Shukracharya, who is the enemy of Brihaspati, particularly the moon god, is having enmity with Brihaspati, not with all the other demigods. In fact, this is a personal issue between the moon god and the Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods. But he is seeing that just to oppose Brihaspati, he is taking the help of Shukra. And there is a saying, the enemy's enemy is our friend. So the enemy of moon god is now Brihaspati, and then Brihaspati's enemy is Shukra. So moon god is now taking friendship with Shukra, so that he will get the whole party of Shukra with him. So this is how he is taking the assistance of the various demons. And then Brihaspati, he is the son of Angira Rishi. So that's what we see here. Angira Rishi is, in fact, I think it comes in even the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. There, the sons of Lord Brahma is listed. In many places this comes. So the Angira is considered to be a mental son of, mental means he is born from the mind of Lord Brahma. So in that way he is son of Lord Brahma. And then Angira was accepted as a spiritual master by Lord Shiva. He took knowledge from him. That's what we see here, that Lord Shiva received knowledge from Angira Muni. And Angira is the father of Brihaspati. So Lord Shiva is naturally having some affection for Brihaspati. In fact, Brihaspati is known as Angira. That we can see in Srimad Bhagavatam first canto. He is mentioned as Angira. Angira means the son of Angira. So naturally he is having affection. Lord Shiva is having affection for Brihaspati. And then he is siding with the Shiva, with the demigods who are led by Brihaspati. And naturally the side of the Shiva party is composed of the Pisachas, the ghosts and the hobgoblins. So they are all now together, and then they are now going to fight with the demigod party led, the demigod come demon party led by the moon god. So this is what we are seeing in this particular verse, and then the purport. So very much bewildering. How come moon god can do such an act? Especially he is kidnapping the wife of his own spiritual master. We know that Shastra speaks about 7 different types of mother. And then among that, one mother is the wife of this guru. So is in such a position, how come moon god do such an act? And it is seen here that in Bhagavatam, this act is actually condemned. Though he is a great personality, but still we see that in the next few slokas, we'll be able to see that the act of the moon god is actually condemned by Brahma. So moon god is condemned because of this act. Because sometimes we see that the modern atheists, the modern misinterpreters of the Vedic literatures, time and time Vedic literatures have been always misinterpreted by the demons. And now also the demons are taking advantage of these Vedic literatures and misinterpreting and mispresenting the Vedic literature. So the modern the demons, in the name of rationality, they find faults in the Vedic literatures. They say that just see your Puranas, it's speaking about this demigod having some illicit connection with that person. So how come these things are there in a very pious book, in the name of some spiritual book? How come such acts are mentioned? Actually, if we scrutinizingly study, we'll properly get the answer. We also hear the story of Indra having connection with Gautami, the wife of Gautama Rishi. So such acts are mentioned in the Vedic literature, but also it is mentioned that such acts are wrong. It's not that the literature is glorifying such an act. How in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the next sloka, you will be able to see that Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma is actually condemning moon god for doing such an act. Not that Brahma is saying that nobody should condemn moon god. Tejisam na doshayet, that he is a very great controller. He is not to be condemned. No, he is actually condemning. But on the other side, we should also know that he is also a great personality. Soma is not an ordinary personality. Both things are mentioned. As Gopal said, moon god did not become moon god for nothing. To become a moon god is not easy. He is a very, very pious person. To become a moon god, one has to do so much of punya. To become Indra, one has to do so much of punya. To accrue so much of punya is not an ordinary thing. After accruing so much of pious results, then Indra took the post of Indra, or Soma took the post of Soma. So they're not ordinary personalities that we can just point fingers at. They're all great personalities. So Brahma, he condemned the act of moon god, but still moon god is also a great personality that he's not to be pointed by anybody else. In fact, we see that it's just because of the mercy of Soma that we are able to take food every day. In Gita, it is mentioned that the juice that's present in the vegetables, it's all coming from the moon. So without the mercy of moon god, we cannot live. In fact, we are every day eating our food because of moon god. Because if moon god is not there, then the vegetation is not going to happen. We are living at the cost of moon god, then there is no question of actually criticizing moon god, because without his mercy we can't live. It's by his mercy that every living in the universe is taking its food. By the mercy of the sun god that everybody in this universe is having light. So they're all great personalities. They're not just simply see, here in Srimad Bhagavatam, we are just seeing the glimpse of the life in the heavenly planets. But this is not an everyday affair. The act that moon god is doing is not an everyday affair that's happening in the heavenly planet. This may happen every day or every moment in this part of time, this Kali Yuga, in the lower planets. But this is not happening. Such acts are not happening all the time there in the heavenly planet. It's a very rare act, but even this act is also having some purpose. Not that something is happening and then there is no purpose to it. Or at least we can have that, at least one thing that we can very easily understand from this story is that even if one is promoted to the heavenly planets, still the conditioned mentality is not gone. We see that the Shastra, it speaks about the different ways of entering, the different ways of yajnas that one can do to go to the heavenly planets. But even after going to the heavenly planets, we see that the person is not liberated. Still the conditioned mentality is there. This also we can learn. And also, one at least gets the lesson that we should not do such an act. See, Bhagavatam is saying something, that moon god is doing such an act, but Bhagavatam is also saying that you should not do this act. So, some lesson we can learn from this act also. And also we can see that because of this act, a great personality is going to appear in this dynasty. See, the moon god is so powerful that he is so pious that the semen of such a personality is not going to produce any ordinary personality. The moon god is such a great personality that he has taken the post of a moon god after accruing so much pious results. So his semen is going to be very powerful. And this may be very difficult for an ordinary person or to understand, because and nowadays we are not used to such great personalities. In fact, people are seeing that the rulers of the modern world, they don't have any kind of character in them. In fact, the more the sinful person, then he can become a leader. To become a leader, one has to be a more sinful person. This is the modern time that we are seeing. But the Vedic times or the previous yugas or in the heavenly planets, the more one is pious, he can become a king. When somebody is more pious, then he takes the position of a leader. But nowadays, that's not the case. If you want to become a leader, then you have to be the most sinful person, most rascal person in the world. Then you can take the position of a leader. Otherwise, it's not possible. In fact, such leaders are chosen among the persons who are living very sinful life. So this is modern living that we are practically seeing in this world. So we are, this Atman Manyate Jagat, we are just putting this, we are seeing the society of the demigods through the lens of this modern world. Then we will see that this act should be a very bad act. But this is not the thing that is happening in the heavenly planet. Moon God is a very pious person, and he is, by his mercy, we are all living. And because of his pious nature, the child that is going to come is going to be a great personality. So we cannot find faults with such great personalities. So this we can see in this particular chapter. And we should also know that, in fact, Srimad Bhagavatam, in the very first verse, it is saying, Janmati yasyatah anvaya itartes charte shavinya swarat tene brahma hridaya adhikavaye muhyanti yat suryaha. So even the demigod, they are also bewildered. Demigods are also bewildered. It's not that somebody who is a demigod, then he is free from the bewilderment. Bhagavatam first, it is very clearly saying that the demigods are also bewildered. So naturally, this also happens. It may happen in a very, very rare occasion, but still such bewilderment is also happening in the heavenly planets. There is only one personality who can do no wrong, is Lord Shri Krishna. Otherwise, practically every conditioned soul in this material universe has a tendency to cheat, to commit mistakes, to be illusion, and his senses are not controlled. So this is the mentality of the nature of a conditioned soul. Even if he is a demigod, still the bewilderment is there. That we learn from Srimad Bhagavatam. Moon god was bewildered. He just saw the wife of spiritual master. He got bewildered, and then he wants to have an affair. So this bewilderment is there. As Srila Prabhupada, he writes in the Bhagavad Gita purport, even in the royal roads, still accidents happen. So similarly, this society that we are seeing here is a demigod society, but even in such a society which is really royal, but still there also some pinpricks are there. So it is not desirable to enter such society also. In fact, we do not want to enter such society. We do not want to enter the society of demigods. We don't want to enter the society of the demons or the demoniac species or any other upper, middle or lower. We want to enter the society of the pure devotees of the Lord. We want to enter the society of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's our mission. That's what Krishna is saying in Gita also. He's saying that even if one is going to enter the society of the demigods, but still there also one will see that there is birth, death, old age and disease. Everywhere it is there. Not only in this world, even in the upper planets also, all these things are there. So it is not worth to enter such societies also. And pious society or impious society, we do not want to enter any society. We want to enter the society where the pure devotees are living, the satam, the devotees of Krishna. Where devotees of Krishna are living, we want to enter such society. Such society, you will not see that there is any mistake going there or any wrong going there. Indeed, this is material world, so there will be always something happening. In fact, there will be only wrong things happening in this world. So there is no wonder that even in demigod society, something bad is happening. This is just expected because the contamination is there in the upper planets also. That we see in Bhagavad Gita, that even one who is situated in the Sattva-gun, still there is also contamination. There is also conditioned nature in Sattva-gun. We see that demigods, they are situated in the mode of goodness. Demigods are situated in the mode of goodness. And the demons are situated in the mode of passion. Though demigods are situated in the mode of goodness, but still the mode of goodness, it is also, it may be a very good, the highest quality that one can exhibit in the material world, but still this is also material. So that Sattva-gun is also contaminating. That's why we see in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying that Badnati, even the Sattva-gun, I do not know the exact verse, but Krishna says Badnati, even the Sattva-gun is also binding. How the Sattva-gun is binding? We see that the Brahmanas, the demigods, they are all in the mode of goodness. But when somebody is a Brahmana or one who is a demigod, they get carried away because of the Sattva-gun. They think that they are advanced in knowledge. I am better than him. When someone is advanced in knowledge, he begins to think that I am better than him. So this is a conditioned nature. One should not think like that. But when somebody in this mode of goodness, he tends to think like that. That's why we see that the philosophers, the scientists, they become proud. They become proud of because of their knowledge. We see here, moon god, he is becoming proud because of having executed a big yajna, Rajasuya yajna. And because of this pride, he wanted to steal the wife of Brihaspati. So that pride is there. So because of that pride, then gradually he falls down. So even this in the mode of Satogun, that bondage is there. Krishna says in Gita that there is always competition between the different modes. There is competition between Satogun, Rajogun, Tamogun, and what is the verse? Rajas tamas chabhuya sattam bhavati bharata. Then rajas sattam tamas shaiva, tamas sattam rajas sata. So there is always competition. The Satogun is trying to defeat Rajogun and Tamogun, and Rajogun is trying to defeat Satogun and Tamogun, and Tamogun is trying to overcome the higher guns, Rajogun and Satogun. So there is always competition between the modes. So even if one is situated in the Satogun, then the other gunas are trying to pull the person down because there is a competition between the modes. This is nature. This is the nature of the material world. There is always competition between the modes. We have to simply accept on the authority of the Supreme Lord Krishna that there is competition between the modes. So even if one is situated in the Satogun, then there is possibility that gradually one will be pulled down by the other modes. So the mode that one should desire is Shuddha Sattva, which is the transcendental mode. So the devotees, they are in the Shuddha Sattva. Only the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they cannot be found any fault. The pure devotees of the Lord, they cannot be found any fault. They do not do any wrong. They are the infallible personalities, along with the Supreme Infallible Personality, Lord Shri Krishna. In this material world, one may be pious, but still that is also to be rejected. Obviously, all the impious things, that is also rejected. And obviously the pious things, that is also rejected. We see that because of the lower modes, one engages in impious activities. This is also not to be desired, especially in Srimad Bhagavatam. This is not desired at all. And one may be in Satogun, so one may be tend to do all sorts of pious activities, but that is also not allowed in Srimad Bhagavatam. And what to speak about pious and impious? Somebody may say, let me transcend the Sattva, Rajas, Tama and then go to the mode of Brahman realization and become liberated. But that is also kicked away in Srimad Bhagavatam. Dharma projita kaitavatra paramo nirmat saranam satam. So even the portion of the liberation, that is also kicked away in Srimad Bhagavatam. So pious, impious and liberation, all these things are not present in Srimad Bhagavatam. Because we know impious acts are going to severely bind us. They are going to cause us more suffering. And pious nature, pious activities are also going to bind us with some sort of happiness. And one may say, let me become liberated, then I will be free from pious and impious. But we see in Srimad Bhagavatam that ye anni arvindaksha vimukta maninas. Means even if somebody is crossing this pious and impious nature and going to the level of Brahman, but still, aruhya krishnena param padam tataha patanti ada anadrita yushma dangrayaha. If somebody has not taken shelter of the supreme lotus feet of the Lord, then even that person also falls down. So even if someone tries to attain the liberation, so that is also a conditioned nature. So one has to even transcend liberation and start serving the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then there is full possibility of becoming completely liberated from these modes. So this is needed. That we have to transcend all these modes, the lower modes and also the upper modes, and also liberation, and then enter the spiritual world. Then we will find that there is no fault. There is no way of any fault entering the spiritual, because the whole spiritual world is permeated with Shuddha Sattva. There is no pride in the devotees there. There is no pride. Yeah. Yeah, so there is no pride in the devotees there. And Krishna being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, He is the complete infallible personality, Achyuta. So that is the place that where everybody should desire to go. That is our real place, that is our real home. And by going there, we see that there is really there is nothing wrong going there in the spiritual world. Though in the upper planets, sometimes some wrong may happen, but in the Supreme Lord's, the Supreme Planet, nothing wrong is happening there. So this we understand from this particular story of the moon god. And Krishna, he comes in this lunar dynasty, in this dynasty of the moon god. So then we can understand how much glorious this moon dynasty is, because the Supreme Lord Krishna has chosen to appear in this dynasty of moon. So they are not ordinary personalities. The kings of the moon god, they are not ordinary personalities. The story of Pururava that we are going to see here, that also may apparently look like he is getting attracted to some society girls or the demigod planets. But still, keep reading Srimad Bhagavatam. In the 11th canto, you will be able to see that the story of Pururava is further mentioned, how he renounced Urvasi also, and then he attains the lotus feet of Krishna. So all the kings in the moon, they're all great kings. Otherwise, why would Krishna come here? So when Krishna comes, he also chooses where I should come from. Just like Krishna is particularly choosing Vasudeva and Devaki as his parents, because they are the wonderful devotees of him. So Krishna is choosing that let me take my birth from the womb of Devaki, and let Vasudeva be my father. So just like that, similarly Krishna is also choosing, let me come appear in this dynasty, because this is also a glorious dynasty. Yeah. Okay, I stop here. So any questions, comments?
I just remember a verse. I recollect the verse. There is when, as you pointed out in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, maybe in the 18th chapter, when Sukadeva Goswami was about to, there's going to be a narration about the Kali, the bull, and how the Kali was trying to interfere, and then Parikshit. Then it involved some violence and all those things. So the sages of the Naimisharanya were just thinking that, what is this? Why we have to? All the way we have to hear about violence and other things. But then they were so confident that whatever Sutta is going to speak, it's going to be definitely something auspicious. It's not, although it may involve, but definitely it's going to be in connection with Krishna. Otherwise, why he's going to speak? So that was an interesting point. I just remembered that. So whatever is there in the Bhagavatam, it's completely wholesome. Another point that I just is like sometimes we may be surprised to see in the modern world how the politicians are, just for quite some time they are with one party and then suddenly they join the opposing party, or maybe when there is a majority with one party, then those who are enemies, they just join together. So we can see here, from it's quite convincing. It's nothing to surprise. Yeah. Even there in the other worlds, it's so.
Yeah, just this morning, Maitreya Prabhu was seeing the purport, and then he said, "Oh, this is like exactly that's happening in the party of DMK. Previously, this MG Ramachandran was there. He was on the side of DMK, then he left that party, and then he went against that party." Yeah, it's all happening in the heavenly planets also. But obviously we can't compare the modern parties with the demigods party. Later we see that again moon god is joining the demigods party. Some man. Yeah, and one more thing, we see that this moon god, he's a pious personality. See, when somebody is situated in the mode of goodness, there is always an advantageous position when somebody is in the mode of goodness, because naturally the quality of repentance will be there. So if somebody may do some act, but then if somebody is in the mode of goodness, then he will repent for such a sinful act that he has done. That puts him in a very higher position. This is not a very ordinary quality. Somebody who may be in the lower modes, who may be a very sinful person, he may do the same act, but he has to be condemned because he may not feel that repentance at all. In fact, somebody will engage in such act and then they will question what's wrong in it. When there is that's what the modern demons, they are trying to find fault in such stories. But on the contrary, they are also saying that when there is a consent from the both party, why should it should be questioned? When somebody's wife is kidnapped, but then the wife is also consenting, and the person who is also desiring that wife, when there is a consent from the both parties, then why should you find fault? This is their level. This is what a sinful mentality is. But that's not the case with the persons who are situated in the mode of goodness. So everything is as per Shastra. They know that the other's wife should be seen as a mother. So they do such an act, but then they also repent that I have done such an act, and then they come back to their normal position. So that's why they are in a very higher position. That's why they are not to be condemned. That's why Krishna says in Gita, Apichet Suduracharo Bhajante Ma Mananyabhak Sadareva Samantavya Samyak Vasito Hi Saha. See, Soma is okay, he is a demigod, but Krishna is speaking about the devotees, that they may apparently do some mistake, but just because they are in the line of devotional service, one has to overlook such act because of their devotion to me, they will gradually give up all these natures. Then we can understand that this is not to be actually found fault. Though it may seem to be a fault, but because this person is situated in the mode of goodness, demigods in the mode of goodness, definitely they'll come back. And also the devotees, they are in devotional life. So they will come to the proper path. Somebody, in fact, Prabhupada, he mentions that in the purport to that particular verse also. Somebody, if is taking advantage of that particular verse, Apichet Chuduracharo, and then still he is committing sinful acts, and without repenting, he is just engaging in all sorts of sinful activities, and at the same time chanting Hare Krishna, then he is not a high devotee. He is a different person. Krishna is nothing about such personalities. Somebody who is really repenting for the act that he has done, then Krishna is actually excusing such a person. So we cannot simply point a finger at a moon god because he is in the mode of goodness, and he is also a very great personality that even if such blemishes may be on his character, but because of the work, because of the service that he is doing to Krishna, that he is giving full vegetation to all living entities, and being situated in the mode of goodness, naturally he comes back to his original position, and then he acts accordingly. So we cannot simply find fault. That's why they're all great controllers. Ishwaranam, this Tedyashamna Dosi, not to find fault with such great controllers, because they are not controllers of this particular planet in particular time of Kali Yuga. They are all really great controllers of the universe. So after accruing so much pious activity, they took that position. Otherwise, why Krishna is putting them in such position? And they are doing good to every living entity. So that is also to be seen. Traditionally, even people, when they hear such story, they don't try to find fault. They take the essence. That's it. That when Brahma is getting bewildered, nobody thinks that, oh, he's not a pure devotee. They think that, oh, if Brahma is bewildered, then what to think of me? Let me engage in pure devotion to Krishna. Like that only think. Like only traditionally people think, because of their presence in the mode of goodness. In Vedic society, everybody tries to be situated in the mode of goodness. So they have a proper understanding of the Shastra. Yeah, that's also needed.
Proud, then it can take one to such an extent that he just forgets everything. Even you go join hands with the enemy because of your pride. And another thing we have to learn that pride is very detrimental.
Yeah.
Completely covers your externalize and internalize, everything is covered. So that's why I think in the Vedic tradition, and such a training is given right from young age, not to become proud of anything, just always whatever whatever skills we have, whatever that that we possess, everything we immediately recognize it as the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So that training is so important. Otherwise, it's very dangerous, disastrous. Vidya dadati vinayam. No? That's also another thing.
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. By real knowledge, actually by transcendental knowledge, one becomes humble. By material knowledge, one becomes proud. When somebody, that's what's happening with the modern philosophers and the modern scientists. They are proud of their material knowledge. But when somebody hears about Krishna, then they become humble. Actually, when somebody hears about Krishna from Srimad Bhagavatam, they have to become humble. They try to understand that they are nothing in front of Krishna. They are simply nothing in front of Krishna. When Lord Indra, a great demigod, is nothing in front of the little finger of Krishna, then what to speak about other personalities? So that's why we should always hear about Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam, we always see that in every prayer, it is mentioned that it is all because of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that one is able to engage in any activity. See, even if somebody is going to have material knowledge, that knowledge also comes from Krishna. Buddhir buddhimatam asmi. Krishna says, any knowledge, material knowledge, spiritual knowledge, that also is given by Krishna. The brain is given by Krishna. The senses with which we try to acquire knowledge, that is also given by Krishna. The knowledge is also Krishna. That's why when you hear Bhagavad Gita, when we see that everything is Krishna, then what I am to be proud of? One has to naturally become humble. That's why demons have to interpret this literature so that they don't have to become humble, they can become proud and they continue their sense gratification. Hare Krishna. Grantat Srimad Bhagavatam